Sham Sharadava Nalalida Loka Pranaya Karuna Gana Ganatvam Sham Sharadava Nalalida Loka Pranaya Karuna Gana Ganatam Praptasya Kalyana Gurnanavasya Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Praptasya Kalyana Gurnanavasya Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nitya Gita Vaditramadhyam Manasurasena Mahaprabhu Pananita Gita Vaditramadhyam Romanchakam Pasu Tarangavaju Vande Gurashi Charanarvindam Tarangavajo Vande Gurashi Charanarvindam Shri Vigrahara Dana Nityanana Shingaratanama Niramajanado Shri Vigrahara Juktasya Bhaktamsa Neyunjatopi Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Chaturvidhashi Bhagavat Prasado Satana Triptan Hari Bhakta Sangha Chaturvidashi Bhagavat Prasada Sakana Triptan Hari Bhakta Sangha Kritvaiva Trupti Bhajata Shadeva Vande Gurashi Charanarvindam Bhajata Shadeva Shirari Kama Dabayara Para Madhura Lila Gunarupa Namna Shirari Kama Para Madhura Lila Gunarupa Namna Pratikshana Dhanalalupasya Vande Gurashi Charanarvindam Ne kunjayu norati kelisidhai Jajali virjokte apekshaniya Ne kunjayu norati kelisidhai Jajali virjokte Tatrati daksha ativalavasya Vande Gurashi Charanarvindam Ativalavasya Sakshadhari Dvaina Shamasta Shastre Ruktastathava Vyataiva Sadhuvi Kintu Prabhoja Priyavattasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasado Yasya Prasada Nagati Kutapi Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasado Yasya Prasada Nagati Kutapi Dhyayam Stubham Tasya Yasatrin Sandhyam Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Dhyayam Stubham Tasya Yasatrin Sandhyam Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Nama O Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Nama Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunavadi Pachatarisha Tarine Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunavadi Pachatarisha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Haraye Namah, Krishna Jadavaye Namah, Jadavaye Madhavaye Kesavaye Namah, Gopal Govindaram Shri Madhusudan, Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan, Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita, Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita, Shri Rupa Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raguna Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raguna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Shri Radha Nila Madhava Radha Nila Madhava Radhe Jaya Jagannath Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadrama Jaya Sudarshan Chakra Jaya Sitaram Jaya Sitaram Sitaram Jaya Lakshman Hanuman Jayo Lakshmi Narasingha Jayo Lakshmi Narasingha Lakshmi Narasingha Jayo Prahlad Mara Nitai Gaura Haribo 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo 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 Pramanande Haribo Jai Vishnupad Param Saprivajakacarya Sutra Sri Shishimad His Divine Grace of Bhajravina Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Pratishta Bhiviti Samstapakacharya Vaishnava Ceremony Harit Bhavana Srila Prabhupada Ji Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Gauriya Guru Varga Patitu Udhara Ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhattara Gunata Shri Jiva Gopala Bhattadasa Guna Sadguru Swami Prabhu Ki Jai Namacharya Shila Haridas Thakur Ji Ki Jai Nanta Kuti Vaishnava Vrindi Ki Jai Prem Sikho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrindi Ki Jai Jai Param Dayal Shri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai Prema Nama Sankirtane Ka Janaka Prema Purushottama Shri Sachinandana Shman Gauranga Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Gaur Hari Mahavrinaya Avatar Ki Jai Golokera Premadhan Hari Nam Sankirtan Jag Ki Jai Yoga Dharma Hare Krishna Mahamantra Ki Jai Brihad Nidanga Transcendental Book Distribution Seva Ki Jai Shri Radha Krishna Gopakupna Radha Kun Samakun Giriraj Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Brajabim Vrindavan Mathurdam Ki Jai The Lordship Shri Radha Nilamadhava Ki Jai Shri Maya Purnavadvip Eka Chakradam Ki Jai Paramakaruna Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai Shri Purushottama Kitra Jagannath Pridham Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Baladev Prabhu Smasvodhara Devi Sudarshan Chakra Bhagavan Ki Jai Bhakti Sarva Vigna Vinashana Kanishangare Bhagavan Ki Jai Jaganga Maya Jamuna Maya Ki Jai Tulasi Maharani Vrindi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Shri Mathura Dharani Ki Jai Shamaveta Bhakta Vindi Ki Jai Nitai Gaurari Pramanande All glory to the Assembly Bodies, all glory to the Assembly Bodies, all glory to the Assembly Bodies, all glory to Shri Shri Guru Shri Gauranga. You need a script?
I have. Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Praladadayine.
Praladadadayine.
प्रह्लादलाददायिने हिरण्यकाशिपूर्वक्षः शीलतङ्कानकालाये हितो नृसिंहा परतो नृसिंहा यतो यतो यामि ततो नृसिंहा बहिर्नृसिंहा हृदये नृसिंहा नरसिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपदे तव करकमलवरेणाकामद्भुतशृङ्गां दलिताहिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गां केशवधृता नरहरे रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे
तव
करकमलवरेणाकामद्भुतशृङ्गां दलिताहिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गां केशवधृता नरहरे रूपा जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जयो केशवधृता नरहरे रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जयो नरसिंहदेव जयो नरसिंहदेव जयो नरसिंहदेव जयो नरसिंहदेव
जय नृसिंहदेव जय नृसिंहदेव
जयो प्रहलाद महाराज जयो प्रहलाद महाराज जयो प्रहलाद महाराज जयो प्रहलाद महाराज
जय प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज
जयो जयो प्रभुपाद 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 जयो जयो प्रभुपाद
जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद
जयो जयो गुरुदेव 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 जयो जयो गुरुदेव
जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव
निथाय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निथाय गौर हरि बोल
जय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल जय गौर हरि
बोलो भक्त विघ्न विनाशक नरसिंहदेव भगवान की
जय
भक्त शिरोमणि प्रहलाद महाराज की जय शिला प्रभुपाद की
श्री वृंदाई तुलसी बाई प्रिय केशव सत्य विष्णु भक्ति प्रदेवी सतवताय नमो नमः। वृंदायै तुलसी बाई प्रिय केशव सत्य विष्णु भक्ति प्रदेवी सतवताय नमो नमः। वृंदायै तुलसी देवाय प्रिय केशव सत्य विष्णु भक्ति प्रदेवी सतवताय नमो नमः। श्रीमती तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की। नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः। राधा कृष्ण सेवा पाव विलासी राधा कृष्ण राधा कृष्ण सेवा पाव विलासी। जे तुम्हार शरण लाए तारा वंशा पूर्ण जे तुम्हार शरण लाए तारा वंशा कृपा करे करतरे वृंदावन वासी। तुम्हें कृपा करे करतरे वृंदावन वासी। विलास कुंज दियवन मायाने सदा जुगल रूपरासी। निवेदन धर सखीर अनुगत करो सेवायारे कर दिए करो निज दासी। जिना कृष्ण दासे को Sadayena Vasi. Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sadayena Vasi. Jani Kani Sapapane Brahmatari Kani Sa Tanitane Prana Santi Pradachina Pade Pade Jani Kani Sapapane Yani Kani Sapapane Brahmatari Kani Sa Tanitane Prana Santi Pradachina Pade Pade Yani Kanisa Papane Brahmatari Kanisa Kanitani Prana Santi Pralachina Pade Pade Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Vrinda Devi Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Vrinda Devi Haribo 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 Nitai Gaur Haribo Shri Vrindaya Tulasi Devi Priyaya Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavatai Namaha Vrindaya Tulasi Devi Priyaya Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavatai Namaha Vrindaya Tulasi Devi Priyaya Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavatai Namaha Srimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. O Tulasi, beloved of Krishna, I bow before you again and again. My desire to obtain the service which is Shri Radha and Krishna. Whoever takes shelter of you, his wish is fulfilled. Bestow your mercy upon him, you make him resident of Vrindavan. My desire is that you also give me a residence in pleasure groves of Shri Vrindavan Dham. Thus, within my vision, I will always behold the beautiful pastimes of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower of Kavya damsels of Raj. Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me your own maid servant. This very fallen and lowly servant of Krishna prays. May I always sing in love Shri Shri Radha and Govinda Shri Mati Tulasi Maharani Vrindi Devi Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Sikhastakam Ki Jai. Chito Darpanama Tatrarpita niyamita smaraninna kala itadrishi tavakripaya bhagavan mamapi durdhaivam idrisham ya janina anuraga trinadapi sunichena tarorapi saishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadari na dhanam na janam na sundarim Kavitam vajagari sakamaye mama janmani janmanishwari bhavatar bhakti rahituki tvai oi nandatanuja kinkaram paritamam visame bhavam buddho kripaya tava para pankaja stitaduli sadrisham vichintaya nayanam galora shudharaya vadanam gadugaravdaya kada tavanama grane bhavisati juga itam nimishena chakrusha prarusa itam sunya itam jagat sarvam govinda virahe name aslishabha daratam pinastamam adarshnar marmahatam karotuva jata tathava vidadatulam pato mat pranatastu saivana para Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Sikhastakam Ki Jai Namo Mahabaranaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Glory to the Shri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart over the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditioned life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtana moment is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus we have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There is not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. Once we chant the holy name of the Lord in humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than straw in the street, one should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer our respect to others. In such state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yet somehow or other I have fallen in this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, my will and my eyes will be decorated with tears of love, flowing constantly when I chant your holy name. Nor will my voice choke up, and will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name. O Govinda, feeling your separation, I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I feel all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he should remain so. Even if he honors me rightfully by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me, he is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Shri Shri Shikastakam Ki Jai. The certain offenses in matter of chanting the holy name of the Lord should be avoided. They are as follows. 1. To blaspheme the devotees who dedicated life for propagating the holy name of the Lord. 2. To consider the names of demigods, the Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, to be equal to or independent of the name of Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the orders of the spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the Vedic literature or literatures and pursuits of Vedic version. 5. Consider the glory of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. 6. To give some interpretation on the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord. 8. To consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are often Vedas as fruitive activity, karma kanda. 9. To instruct the fatherless person about the glories of holy name. And 10. To not have complete faith in chanting the holy names, and to maintain material attachments, even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It also an offense to be interchanged while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must carefully guard against these 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success. Krishna Prema. Now let us offer our most humble obeisances unto all the Vaishnavas, devotees of the Lord. They are just like desired trees, they can fulfill the desire of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Bancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha paritanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Deyananta Koti Krishna Vrindi ki Jai. Let's go to group pranams. Om Jnana Tirandasya Jnana Salakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Namavistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Kadati Swaparantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Gautamanavam Shri Guru Vaishnava Shri Rupam Sagratam Sahagana Krishna Sajivam Sadvitam Sadhutam Vedasitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Radham Sahagana Bhavita Shri Vishakam Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswate Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Arasatya Saharine Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Namani Shri Vaishnavani Devi
Dayitaya Vipavadale Krishna Samvanda Vigyana Dayane Prabhave Namaha Madhu Ujvala Premadya Shri Rupa Rupa Bhaktida Shri Gauranga Shakti Vigrahaya Namaste Namaste Shravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupa Nuga Virudapa Apasiddhanta Moharine
Namaguru Vishwaraya Saktavirya Murtaye Vipralambhara Sambuddhe Paramujayate Namaha. Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidanandana Namine Gaura Shakti
Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Kamne Guru Tatvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhakta Avataram Bhaktakam Namami Bhakta Saktikam. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopisha Kanta Radhakanta Namostate Jayatam Suratur Pangur Mama Manda Mater Gati Matsarva Swapadambo Jo Radha Madana Mohano Masanasto Srimad Radha Shila Govinda Devo Prestali Bihi Sevyamanu Smarami Shiman Rasa Rasarambi Vamsivata Tatastita Karsan Venuswanir Gopir Gopinatak Striyestuna Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Stute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasti Gaur Bhaktavindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Panchatattva Mahamantra Ki Jai. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasti Gaur Bhaktavindam. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is always accompanied by His plenary expansion, Sri Nityananda Prabhu, His incarnation, Sri Advaita Prabhu, His internal potency, Sri Gadadhar Prabhu, and His marginal potency, Srivas Prabhu. He is in the midst of them as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should know that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is always accompanied by these other tattvas. Therefore, our obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are complete when we say Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. As preachers of the Krishna consciousness movement, we first offer our obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by chanting this Panchatattva mantra. Then we say Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There are 10 offenses in the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, but these are not considered in the chanting of the Panchatattva mantra, namely Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is known as the Mahavadanyavattara, the most magnanimous incarnation, for he does not consider the offenses of the fallen souls. Thus, to derive the full benefit from chanting the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We must first take shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, learn the Panchatattva mantra, and then chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. That will be very effective. Hare Krishna Mahamantra Ki Jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The transcendental vibration established by the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is the sublime method of reviving our Krishna consciousness. As living spiritual souls, we are all originally Krishna conscious entities, but due to our association with matter, from time immemorial, our consciousness is now polluted by the material atmosphere. The material atmosphere in which we are now living is called Maya, or illusion. Maya means that which is not. And what is this illusion? The illusion is that we are all trying to be lords of material nature, while actually we are under the grip of restringent laws. When a servant artificially tries to imitate the all-powerful master, this is called illusion. In this polluted concept of life, we are all trying to exploit the resources of material nature, but actually we are becoming more and more entangled in her complexities. Therefore, although we are engaged in a hard struggle to conquer nature, we are ever more dependent on her. This illusory struggle against material nature can be stopped at once by revival of our Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is not an artificial imposition on the mind. This consciousness is the original energy of the living entity. When we hear the transcendental vibration, this consciousness is revived, and this process is recommended for this age by authorities. By practical experience also, one can perceive that by chanting this Mahamantra, or the great chanting for deliverance, one can at once feel transcendental ecstasy coming through from the spiritual stratum. And when one is factually on the plane of spiritual understanding, surpassing the stages of senses, mind, and intelligence, one is situated on the transcendental plane. This chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is directly enacted from the spiritual platform, and thus this sound vibration surpasses all lower strata of consciousness, namely sensual, mental, and intellectual. There is no need, therefore, to understand the language of the mantra, nor is there any need for mental speculation or any intellectual adjustment for chanting this Mahamantra. It springs automatically from the spiritual platform, and as such, anyone can take part in the chanting without any previous qualification and dance in ecstasy. We have seen this practically. Even a child can take part in the chanting, or even a dog can take part in it. Of course, for one who is too entangled in material life, it takes a little more time to come to the standard point. But even such a materially engrossed man is raised to the spiritual platform very quickly. When the mantra is chanted by a pure devotee of the Lord in love, it has the greatest efficacy on the hearers, and as such, this chanting should be heard from the lips of a pure devotee of the Lord, so that immediate effects can be achieved. As far as possible, chanting from the lips of non-devotees should be avoided, just as milk touched by the lips of a serpent should be avoided because of its poisonous effects. The word Hara is a form of addressing the energy of the Lord, and the words Krishna and Rama are forms of addressing the Lord himself. Both Krishna and Rama mean the supreme pleasure, and Hara means the supreme pleasure energy of the Lord, changed to Hare in the vocative. So vocative is one of the declensions of words, of nouns basically. So vocative is referring to a noun. So Hara becomes Hare in the vocative when you refer to it as a noun. The supreme pleasure energy of the Lord helps us reach the Lord. The material energy is called Maya, is also one of the multi-energies of the Lord, and we, the living entities, are also an energy, the marginal energy of the Lord. The living entities are described as superior to material energy. When this superior energy is in contact with the inferior energy, an incompatible situation arises. But when the superior marginal energy is in contact with the superior energy called Hara, or Radharani, the living entity is established in its happy, normal condition. These three words, namely Hare, Krishna, and Rama, are the transcendental seeds of the Mahamantra. The chanting is a spiritual call for the Lord and his internal energy, Hara, to give protection to the conditioned soul. This chanting is exactly like the genuine cry of a child for its mother. Mother Hara helps the devotee achieve the grace of the Supreme Father, Hari, or Krishna, and the Lord reveals himself to the devotee who chants this mantra sincerely. No other means of spiritual realization, therefore, is as effective in this age as chanting the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, today we're going to do again text number 32. Canto 2, Chapter 9, Text 32. Yavan aham yata bhavo yadrupa gunakarmaka tataiva tatva vijnanam Astu te mad anugrahat. Yavan, as I am in eternal form. Aham, myself. Yatha, as much as. Bhava, transcendental existence. Yat, those. Rupa, various forms and colors. Guna, qualities. Karmaka, activities. Tata, so and so. Eva, certainly. Tattva Vijnanam, factual realization. Astu, let it be. Te, unto you. Mat, my. Anugrahat, by causeless mercy. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. All of me, namely my actual eternal form and my transcendental existence, color, qualities, and activities, let all be awakened within you by factual realization out of my causeless mercy. So let's just focus 1 second on this word, causeless mercy. What does that mean exactly? Causeless mercy. Anybody want to say? Causeless mercy.
Purely out of mercy, out of compassion, without us probably really doing anything qualified.
Exactly right. Yeah. It's not something that we did. It's something that Krishna decides to bless us with. So, therefore, there's a very nice verse about this. It says, Nayamatma pravarchanena labyo na medaya na bahuna shrutena yam evaisya rinute tena labhyas taisyasya atma virinute tanam swam. So this is from the Mundaka Upanishad and the Katha Upanishad, the same verses in both Upanishads. And it says, the Supreme Lord is not attained by expert explanations, by vast intelligence, nor even by much hearing. He is attained only by one who he himself chooses. To such a person he manifests his own form. So this is very interesting. On the other hand, yesterday we read, Prabhupada said, he said, therefore the knowledge of the personality of Godhead may be attained by devotional service only. Rahasyam means devotional service. Lord Krishna instructed Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita because he found Arjuna to be a devotee and friend. Without such qualifications, one cannot enter into the mystery of the Bhagavad Gita. Whoa, so this is confirming what's being said here, that his mercy is causeless, but if one takes an interest in him and engages in devotional service, Krishna takes an interest in that devotee. And what is devotional service? Well, the two most important, let's say, aspects of devotional service is hearing and repeating what you have heard. And that's going to be said now. Without such qualification, one cannot enter into the mystery of the Bhagavad Gita. In other words, one must be a devotee and a friend of the Lord. Therefore, one cannot understand the personality of God unless one becomes a devotee and discharges devotional service. This mystery is love of Godhead. Therein lies the main qualification for knowing the mystery of the personality of Godhead. No, now he's talking about love of Godhead. So it's very possible we can engage a whole life in devotional service and not really love Krishna. Although it's hard to believe. But it is possible, because as long as we have just one material desire to satisfy, we never really attain genuine love for the Lord. But if we have no material desires, and our only desires are to please Krishna, Then we can enter into the mysteries of Krishna science. So, therefore it says, therein lies the main qualification for knowing the mystery of the personality of Godhead. What is that? The mystery is love of Godhead. And to attain the stage of transcendental love of Godhead, regulative principles of devotional service must be followed. It doesn't mean that it's simply by following the regulative principles you will attain love of God. It's just saying that that to attain the stage of transcendental love of Godhead, regulative principles of devotional service must be followed. The regulative, so in other words, you can't really understand Krishna, the mystery of Krishna consciousness, unless one attains love of God or love of Krishna. But the way to come to the platform or the stage of transcendental love of God, one has to follow the regulative principles. Right? The regulative principles are called Vidhi Bhakti, or the devotional service of the Lord, and they can be practiced by a neophyte with his present senses. Such regulative principles are mainly based on hearing and chanting of the glories of the Lord, and such hearing and chanting of the glories of the Lord can be made possible in the association of devotees only. So this hearing and chanting privately will not work. It might be beneficial in some ways, but it will not work completely. One must have the association of genuine devotees. And in that association, continue hearing and chanting and following the regulative principles. Above that is becoming a genuine devotee. Genuine devotee doesn't have any other interest than to please Krishna. Doesn't want to hear anything else, doesn't want to do anything that's not related to Krishna, doesn't want to say anything that's not related to Krishna. So then, by following these regular principles of devotional service, one can attain the stage of transcendental love. In other words, you walk up to a stage, right? Does that mean that you're actually an actor? No. You just stepped up on the stage. Now, if you have no material desires, you only desire to please Krishna, and it's an unending, let's say, quality that you've evolved, at that point, you can enter into the stage of love of God. So, this verse that says, the Supreme Lord is not attained by expert explanations, by vast intelligence, nor even by much hearing. He is attained only by one who he himself chooses. To such a person, he manifests his own form. Then it says, Atakshi Krishna nama di nabhavet grayam indriyai sevan mukhehi jiva do swayam eva spuratyata. Because Krishna's form, qualities, pastimes, etc. are all on the absolute platform, material senses cannot therefore appreciate them. When a conditioned soul is awakened to Krishna consciousness and renders service by using his tongue to chant the Lord's holy name and taste the remnants of the Lord's food, the tongue is purified and one gradually comes to understand who Krishna really is. Because the tongue is voracious and very, very difficult to control. So, the way to control the tongue is by only eating Krishna prasadam and only vibrating the vibration, the transcendental vibration, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That will gradually, and it's gradually, bring the mind under control. The mind is like the wind or like a hurricane. It is almost impossible to control, but it can be controlled by this regular chanting and hearing and tasting prasadam and engaging as much as possible in the devotional service of the Lord. Now, what happens if a person actually believes this and tries to endeavor to be always in Krishna consciousness? That's very interesting. One could become like Brahma, like Prahlad Maharaj, like Narada Muni, like Parikshit Maharaj, like Yudhisthira Maharaj, like Arjuna. So, now the question is, does a parent want their child to be like this? The answer is no for almost all people, including many devotees. They don't really want their child to be like this. And the proof of that is, when Prabhupada was still in India, he didn't come to the United States yet, he went around asking Vaishnavas if they would give him one son so that he could train the son to be Krishna conscious. What happened? Not one person did it. You see? On the other hand, Venkatabhata, the father of Gopal Bhatta, gave his son to Lord Chaitanya. You see, this is the difference. And he became one of the Goswamis. So, if you're a parent, you should ask yourself, do I really want my child to be completely Krishna conscious? Or do I want the child to get into IT or get into this thing or get into that thing, and get married and have children or this or that? You know, you have to ask yourself this question. Most people will say no. In fact, almost everyone will say no, even though they're devotees. I have hardly met anyone, including myself, that actually say yes. I want my child to be completely Krishna conscious. I don't want my child to have anything to do with the material world, other than to transform everything material into spiritual by practicing Krishna consciousness. Yes, we do have something to do with the material world. We know that it's ultimately spiritual. But as long as people are chasing around for sense gratification, they don't see the spiritual aspect. So therefore, we have to be trained to be killers, not of the soul or the body, but of the desire for sense gratification. So we have to be effective, very effective killers. We have to be able to kill the desire for sense gratification in the mind of the living entities. That's our killing. So this is a very, very interesting verse, which says that one has to be chosen by Krishna to be able to be able to become Krishna conscious. The Supreme Lord is not attained by expert explanations, by vast intelligence, nor even by much hearing. He is attained only by one who he himself chooses. To such a person, he manifests his own form. Now, Prabhupada says the same thing in the Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter, 26th verse. 9th chapter, 26th verse, where it says, okay. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhakta prayachti tadaham bhakti bharatam asnami mayatat para asnami prayatat para. It says, asnami prayatat mana. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it. So in the purport, he says, the only qualification required in this connection, for the intelligent person, it is essential to be in Krishna consciousness, engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, in order to achieve a permanent, blissful abode for eternal happiness. The process of achieving such a marvelous result is very easy and can be attempted even by the poorest of the poor, without any kind of qualification. The only qualification required in this connection is to be a pure devotee of the Lord. It does not matter what one is or where one is situated. The process is so easy that even a leaf or a little water or fruit can be offered to the Supreme Lord in genuine love, and the Lord will be pleased to accept it. No one, therefore, can be barred from Krishna consciousness because it is so easy and universal. Who is such a fool that he does not want to be Krishna conscious by this simple method and thus attain the highest perfectional life of eternity, bliss, and knowledge? Krishna wants only loving service and nothing more. So there you are. It's saying the same thing, right? It says, the Supreme Lord is not attained by expert explanations, by vast intelligence, or even by much hearing. He is attained only by one who he himself chooses. To such a person, he manifests his own form. And in the purport today, it says that, therefore, knowledge of the personality of Godhead may be attained by devotional service only. Rahasya means devotional service. Lord Krishna instructed Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita because he found Arjuna to be a devotee and friend. It doesn't say a scholar, a mathematician, an IT expert, whatever. It says simply a devotee and friend. Without such qualifications, one cannot enter into the mystery of the Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, one cannot understand the personality of Godhead unless one becomes a devotee and discharges devotional service. This mystery is love of Godhead. This mystery is love of Godhead. Therein lies the main qualification for knowing the mystery of the personality of Godhead. So there, in those two lines, he explains, it's only by love, genuine love, that is not mixed with anything else, but the desire to please the Lord in every way possible, that one can come to the stage of transcendental realization of the Lord, to see him face to face. And like Brahma, when the Lord sees you face to face, he shakes your hand. He says, congratulations. He actually shakes your hand. So when somebody shakes your hand, it's like something intimate, right? It's body to body. So the Lord's body touches your body. All of a sudden you become completely enamored of the Lord. And you see that all the difficulties you went through to become Krishna conscious and stay Krishna conscious was worth it. There's nothing greater than this, where the Lord actually shakes your hand and smiles and says, thank you very much. I'm very pleased with you. You see? The regulative principles are called Vidhi Bhakti, or the devotional service to the Lord, and they can be practiced by a neophyte with his present senses. Such regulative principles are mainly based on hearing and chanting of the glories of the Lord, and such hearing and chanting of the glories of the Lord can be made possible in the association of devotees only. Lord Chaitanya therefore recommended 5 main principles for attaining perfection in the devotional service of the Lord. The first is association with devotees, because in their association one will regularly hear about Krishna, like we're doing every day. We're hearing about Krishna in the morning where there's no noise except people talking behind the curtain, which we should tell them to stop, because it's very disturbing. We don't want to hear anything else but hear what Prabhupada is saying in his purports. And such hearing and chanting of the glories of the Lord can be made possible in the association of devotees only. Lord Chaitanya therefore recommended 5 main principles for attaining perfection in the devotional service of the Lord. The first is association with devotees, hearing. Second is chanting the glories of the Lord. Third, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from the pure devotee. Fourth, residing in a holy place connected with the Lord. And fifth, worshiping the deity of the Lord with devotion. So, as requested by Lord Brahma, the personality of Godhead will explain all about the 4 questions put forward by Brahma and others also, which are parts and parcels of the same questions. Okay, so then today's verse, Krishna says to Brahma, all of me, namely my actual eternal form and my transcendental existence, color, qualities, and activities, let all be awakened within you by factual realization out of my causeless mercy. So, when it says awakened in you, this is how Krishna instructed Brahma. This is how Brahma became the disciple of Krishna himself. Tene Brahma hridaya adhikavaye muyanti yatsurayaha. He instructed him from within his heart and revealed this knowledge to him. Tad vidi paripatena paripastena sevaya. Tad vidi parip no. Tesam satyutanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhiyogam tam yenamam upayantite. Krishna says, I dwelling, that I am in the heart of every living entity. And when the living entity engages in my devotional service, I reveal this transcendental knowledge to him. And then, Tesam abhanukampartam aham arjanagam nama. But nasyami atmabhavasto jnana dipena basvato. So 10th chapter, 11th verse says that to show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. Tesam ivanukampartam aham agyanamam tam agyam aham agyanajam tama. So this is what happens when we actually become Krishna conscious. We don't have to study. We just have to hear and repeat and be engaged in devotional service. Take prasadam only. Use every second of our life in Krishna's service. And then Krishna reveals the knowledge to us. This is revelation theology. It is not academic knowledge. And yesterday we talked about the pedagogical or pedantry, how you are taught. You're not taught by studying or memorizing or passing tests. You're taught by purity of purpose to serve the Lord, and then the Lord reveals the knowledge to you from your heart. Because all knowledge comes from the Paramatma, and Paramatma is situated in your heart. So your teacher is inborn. You don't have to go outside. It's there. But to realize this, you have to hear Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita spoken by genuine devotees. And the most genuine devotee, of course, is Srila Prabhupada. So therefore, we're focusing on his purports every day, because his purports are his transcendental ecstasies. Okay, so one second, I want to find a very important verse here. Okay, anyway, the verse basically says that the symptom of a devotee is that he uses every second of his life in the service of Krishna. This is the symptom of a pure devotee. So Prabhupada says, your only qualification is to become a pure devotee. But wait a minute, what does it mean to become a pure devotee? Well, there's this very significant verse. Let me see if I can find it real quickly here. Anyatra kala. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah. Anyatra kala. Okay, I'm going to have to find it later on. Anyatra kala samyat va. He uses every second, doesn't waste 1 second of his life, because time is the most precious quality or asset that we have. Therefore, we should use every second in the service of Krishna. That way, we don't waste our life or spend our life uselessly trying to find or trying to pursue unnecessary goals. Okay, so therefore, there's another verse that says, Keshit kevalaya bhaktya vasudeva parayana agam dunvanti karsneya niharam eva bhaskara. Only a rare person who has adopted complete, unalloyed devotional service to Krishna can uproot the weeds of sinful actions with no possibility that they will revive. He can do this simply by discharging devotional service, just as the sun can immediately dissipate fog by its rays. So, here we see there's so much evidence confirming that we should be engaged 24 hours a day in Krishna's service, thinking of Krishna, planning to serve Krishna, serving Krishna, helping others become Krishna conscious, and so forth. These are the real symptoms of pure devotional service. So now today's purport, it says, the secret of success in understanding the intricacies of knowledge of the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, is the causeless mercy of the Lord. That's the secret of success. To somehow or other receive the causeless mercy of the Lord. So it's causeless. It's not because we did this or that. It's because we simply listened carefully to the example of Brahma, which we're doing now, to understand how he was enlightened. He was enlightened because of tapa, engaging in austerities voluntarily in order to become free of sins and sinful reactions, and also to be fully engaged in focused service to the Lord. We have to be free of sins to be able to engage in devotional service. Yesam tvantakatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva mohanir mukta bhajanti mandritavataha. 7th chapter, 29th verse, Bhagavad Gita clearly says that one who has acted piously in this life and in previous lives, and whose sins are completely eradicated, such a person can become Krishna conscious. The 7th chapter, 29th verse. Let's see what if I'm right. Yes, 28th verse. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful reactions are completely eradicated, are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. So what are the dualities of delusion? Well, we've gone over this before, but it's very important to understand clearly. Someone would say, well, I mean, it's nice to be a pure devotee, but, I'm still young. I still have so many other things I can explore in life, and I think I should get this degree and that degree and do this thing and that thing. And I'll just keep this in the back of my mind, and when I feel I'm ready, then I'll do it. That is a duality right there. Should I do this or should I do that? Should I try and strive, if possible, to become a genuine devotee of the Lord? By the way, the symptom of a genuine devotee or pure devotee is that they don't think that they're a devotee. Look at Krishnadas Kaviraj. He says, don't say my name. Don't ever think of me. I am the lowest of the low. But he is a pure devotee. But he feels, because the more one becomes pure, the more humble one becomes. And one does not feel that they're qualified. Therefore, they cannot stop trying to be Krishna conscious. See, when you're striving to be something, you're very serious about it. When you actually achieve that thing, you say, okay, now I can sit back a little bit and cool it. No. It's better to always be striving. Therefore, the Goswamis never said, I just saw Krishna. They said, where are you, Krishna? Are you just there at Govardhan? Or are you with you in the spiritual world? Please, where are you? They never say, oh, I had coffee with Krishna last night. He came to my kitchen. We sat down, we had a nice chat. No, it doesn't say that. So this anticipation of seeing the Lord is a symptom of the devotee. They're always anticipating to see the Lord, and because of that, they always remain engaged in devotional service. Go tell them to keep quiet. This is very disturbing. They just don't. They don't have any respect. You know, it's supposed to be worshiping the deities. You're not supposed to talk when you're worshiping the deities. You're supposed to be focused completely on serving the deities. That's a sign of neophyte devotees who pretend to be advanced, but actually they're not, because they violate rules and regulations. You're not supposed to talk when you're serving the deities. You're supposed to meditate completely on the service. Okay, so therefore it says, the secret of success in understanding the intricacies of knowledge of the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, as the causeless mercy of the Lord, is the causeless mercy of the Lord. Even in the material world, the father of many sons discloses the secret of his position to the pet son. The father discloses the confidence unto the son whom he thinks worthy. An important man in the social order can be known in his mercy only. Similarly, one must be very dear to the Lord in order to know the Lord. The Lord is unlimited. No one can know him completely, but one's advancement in transcendental loving service to the Lord can make one eligible to know the Lord. Here we can see that the Lord is sufficiently pleased with Brahmaji, and therefore he offers his causeless mercy to him, so that Brahmaji may have the factual realization of the Lord by his mercy only. So the Lord was sufficiently pleased with Brahmaji, and therefore he offers his causeless mercy. This, we should meditate on this. The Lord was sufficiently pleased with Brahmaji, and therefore he offers his causeless mercy to him, so that Brahmaji may have the factual realization of the Lord by his mercy only. In the Vedas also it is said that a person cannot know the absolute truth, personality of Godhead, simply by dint of mundane education or intellectual gymnastics. One can know the supreme truth if one has unflinching faith in the bona fide spiritual master as well as in the Lord. Such a faithful person, even though illiterate in the mundane sense, can know the Lord automatically by the mercy of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita also it is said that the Lord reserves the right of not being exposed to everyone, and he keeps himself concealed from the faithless by his Yogamaya potency. To the faithful, the Lord reveals himself in his form, quality, and pastimes. The Lord is not formless, as wrongly conceived by the impersonalists, but his form is not like one that we have experienced. The Lord discloses his form even to the extent of measurement to his pure devotees, and that is the meaning of Yavan, as explained by Srila Jiva Goswami, the greatest scholar of Srimad Bhagavatam. The Lord discloses the transcendental nature of his existence. The mundane wranglers make mundane conceptions of the form of the Lord. It is said in the revealed scriptures that the Lord has no mundane form. Therefore, persons with a poor fund of knowledge conclude that he must be formless. They cannot distinguish between the mundane form and the spiritual form. According to them, without a mundane form, one must be formless. This conclusion is also mundane, because formlessness is the opposite conception of form. Negation of the mundane conception does not establish a transcendental fact. We went over that point several times yesterday. The negation of the mundane conception does not establish a transcendental fact. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said that the Lord has a transcendental form and that he can utilize any one of his senses for any purpose. For example, he can eat with his eyes and he can see with his leg. In the mundane conception of form, one cannot eat with one's eyes or see with his leg. That is the difference between mundane body and the spiritual body of Satchitananda. A spiritual body is not formless. It is a different type of body of which we cannot conceive with our present mundane senses. Formless, therefore, means devoid of mundane form, or possessing a spiritual body of which the non-devotee can have no conception by the speculative method. All of science is based on speculation. It's not based on fact. They're always speculating. Sometimes by accident they arrive at a fact, but that is not the way to do it, actually. One must accept a priori knowledge or self-evident knowledge from the Vedic scriptures, from Krishna's direct words in Bhagavad Gita, and then one can engage in scientific, let's say, experimentation to prove that what Krishna said is true. But we accept it that as truth. We don't doubt it. But as a service to the unbelievers, we can show that it is can be scientifically evaluated also. So, therefore, for example, Krishna can eat with his eyes and he can see with his leg. In the mundane conception of form, one cannot eat with one's eyes or see with his leg. That is the difference between the mundane body and the spiritual body of Satchitananda. A spiritual body is not formless. It is a different type of body of which we cannot conceive with our present mundane senses. Formless, therefore, means devoid of mundane form or possessing a spiritual body of which the non-devotee can have no conception by the speculative method. The Lord discloses to the devotee his unlimited varieties of transcendental bodies, all identical with one another, with different kinds of bodily features. Some of the now that would be bewildering to the mundane empiricist or the mundane scientist or philosopher. They would say, I can't accept this. Some of the transcendental bodies of the Lord are blackish, and some of them are whitish. Some of them are reddish, and some of them are yellowish. Some of them are four-handed, and some of them two-handed. Some of them are like the fish, and some are like the lion. All these different transcendental bodies of the Lord without any differential category. In other words, it's not that one of these is different than Krishna. Differential category means that it could be it could be a different thing than the Lord. It's not a fact. Each one of these plenary expansions are the Lord himself, although they're vastly different than the original form of the Lord. Some of them are like the fish, and some are like the lion. All these different transcendental bodies of the Lord, without any differential category, are disclosed to the devotees of the Lord by the mercy of the Lord, and thus the impersonalists' false arguments claiming the formlessness of the Supreme Truth do not appeal to a devotee of the Lord, even though such a devotee may not be very advanced in devotional service. So the Mayavadis cancel all this, right? You can see how vicious and envious they are of the Lord. The Lord has unlimited potencies. He can do anything he wants. And whatever he does is perfectly pure and not in any way sinful or in any way negative. It's always positive. Even killing demons is a positive thing. They become liberated by being killed by the Lord. The Lord has unlimited numbers of transcendental qualities, and one of them is his affection for his unalloyed devotee. In the history of the mundane world, we can appreciate his transcendental qualities. The Lord incarnates himself for the protection of his devotees and for the annihilation of the faithless. His activities are in relationship with his devotees. Srimad Bhagavatam is full of such activities of the Lord in relationship with his devotees, and the non-devotees have no knowledge of such pastimes. The Lord lifted the Govardhan hill when he was only 7 years old and protected his pure devotees at Vrindavana from the wrath of Indra, who was overflooding the place with rain. Now, this lifting of the Govardhan hill by a 7-year-old boy may be unbelievable for the faithless, but for the devotees it is absolutely believable. The devotee believes in the almighty potency of the Lord, while the faithless say that the Lord is almighty but do not believe it. Such men, with a poor fund of knowledge, do not know that the Lord is the Lord eternally, and that one cannot become the Lord by meditation for millions of years or by mental speculation for billions of years. The impersonal interpretation of the mundane wranglers is completely refuted in this verse because it is clearly stated here that the Supreme Lord has his qualities, form, pastimes, and everything that a person has. All these descriptions of the transcendental nature of the personality of Godhead are factual realizations by the devotee of the Lord, and by the causeless mercy of the Lord, they are revealed to his pure devotee and to no one else. There it is. This is the pure knowledge given by Prabhupada. Now, who actually believes this? Very few people actually believe this. Even though they can read it, even though they can even memorize it, but it doesn't mean that they actually believe it. If they believe it, what would happen? Well, I'll give you an example. There was one man named Saul, S-A-U-L. He was a Jew. And he hated Christians. And he would persecute them wherever he went. So he was in Jerusalem persecuting the Christians. But he heard that there were some Christians in what is today Syria. So he decided to go there and persecute them. And on the way, this is like at least 60 years after Jesus disappeared. On the way, he met Jesus. And Jesus said, Saul, what are you doing? You should give this up and become my devotee. And Saul had what's called an epiphany. Look that word up, it's a very good word. Epiphany. He had realization that Jesus is the Son of God, and he gave up persecuting Jews who had accepted Jesus and started following him, had become Christians. And he stopped doing that and became a preacher of Jesus. And the rest of his life he spent spreading Jesus consciousness. Right? And he became the founder of the church in Rome. He became the guru of the Roman Catholic Church. And he founded the church there. He was the first one to do that. So the reason I'm telling this story is because when he actually saw Jesus, he gave up everything else he was doing, completely surrendered to the Lord, and engaged in the service of the Lord for the rest of his life. So that's what happens if we actually understand what's being said. Give up everything else and just engage in the service of the Lord. And if we can't give it up, then we dovetail everything else to the service of the Lord until that time when we can give it up also. So this is, now, this question, let me come back to this question. Does the parent actually want their child to be fully Krishna conscious, like Dhruva Maharaj, like Prahlad Maharaj, like Narada Muni, like Parikshit Maharaj, like Brahma? Do they actually want their child to be fully Krishna conscious? The answer is no. I don't know anyone that actually is praying day and night, please let my child become a pure devotee. I'll do everything to encourage this. Like, for example, if you read Prabhupada's biography by Satsvarup Maharaj, he says that many times Prabhupada's father, in fact all the time, he was inviting saintly people to his house and offering them food in the form of prasadam. And every one of those saintly persons, he said, please, he said, pray to Radharani that my son becomes a pure devotee. Yeah, he was doing that all the time. Now, Prabhupada, he says that also. That he remembers his father was always asking these people that he invited to his house, please help my son or my daughter become a pure devotee of the Lord. So this should be actually the benevolence of a real parent. They should desire that their son or daughter actually become a pure devotee in this lifetime. And they should do everything possible. You can't force anyone, but do everything possible to keep the child in the proper, let's say, atmosphere or environment or association, so that they can be constantly hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord in Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, and always associating with genuine devotees and always having a positive experience in Krishna consciousness. That should be their main stress. To submit them to mundane knowledge, which is all speculation, all nonsense stuff. Like, I'll give you an example. Yesterday, a very horrible thing happened in Colorado. Colorado, this time of year, is very cold. There's a lot of snow. But unbelievably, this time of year, it's warm and dry. And somehow or other, some spark came up in this dry, and I mean, you can see pictures of Colorado like 2 days ago. It was like summertime almost, you know, very dry, no rain, no snow, and not really freezing cold like normally it should be, right? And somehow or other there was a spark, and there were 110-mile-per-hour winds, and all of a sudden it wiped out. Like last night when I heard about it, there were like 550 houses had been burned down. But go on the internet right now and look at the video of the conflagration. Conflagration means an out-of-control fire. This is the most amazing thing to see. No one expected anything like this to happen in Colorado. Huh? Did you hear about it?
Yeah, yeah.
Did you see the video?
I saw the video.
Right.
And it was hurricane-like winds and
110 miles per hour. You can't stop it. It's impossible to stop. They couldn't do anything to stop it. I don't know how many houses burned. The same thing happened in Berkeley and Oakland, California, when I was there. There was a fire that they couldn't stop, and it burned down 2,000 houses, and they were all on the highlands, where all those houses are worth $1 to $5 million. There's no cheap house on the highlands, right? I used to have one of those houses. I rented one once for a year. They're really nice houses. They all burned down. The only reason they stopped it is because when it was approaching the Lawrence Atomic Research Laboratory, that's in Berkeley, up on the mountain, they did everything they could to stop it. They didn't try to stop it from burning down the houses, but they did everything they could to stop it there, because otherwise there could have been an atomic explosion, right? That would have been a catastrophe. Or in other words, they didn't want to lose the Lawrence Research Laboratory, let's put it like that. The atomic bomb was partially made there. So they threw everything they had, and they actually stopped it before it burned down the Lawrence Atomic Research Facility on the hills of Berkeley. And thank God they did, because our temple was in Berkeley. If it burned down that Lawrence Research Laboratory, it could have continued right into the city and burned down all the houses. So it's not a strange thing, but it's very strange for Colorado that this happened. And it happened yesterday. And one day, it burned. I don't know, did they have the final figure, how many houses burned down? I mean, those were nice houses, too. They were like, you know.
Boulder.
Huh?
Boulder, Colorado.
Boulder, yeah. Does it say how many houses burned down?
They don't say, but they said that more than 30,000 people were evacuated or something. But the official figure, I don't see.
Yeah. Well, they'll find out.
580 plus homes. That's 4 hours ago.
Okay.
It says 580.
And that happened very quickly. It didn't. I mean, people couldn't believe what was happening.
They said the number will go when the fire may spread again.
Right. Okay, so we see here what's called the unstoppable force of nature. Look up what the governor said about it. Look up his statement. He declared a state of emergency, but he said something was very interesting. He said, this is not a question of resources. In other words, fire departments, fire engines, hoses, water, firemen. He said, this is nature, uncontrolled nature. See? So this proves immediately that man can control nature. We have so many proofs of it now. Everyone's blaming it on global warming. It's not global warming. It's global sinning that's causing this. So do you see his statement? Okay. So then it says, the Lord discloses. Okay, we'll stop in a minute. The Lord discloses to the devotees the unlimited varieties of transcendental bodies, all identical with one another, with different kinds of bodily features. Some of the transcendental bodies of the Lord are blackish, and some of them are whitish, some of them are reddish, and some of them are yellowish. Some of them are four-handed, and some of them are two-handed. Some of them are like the fish, and some are like the lion. All these different transcendental bodies of the Lord, without any differential category, are disclosed to the devotees of the Lord by the mercy of the Lord, and thus the impersonalist false arguments claiming the formlessness of the supreme truth do not appeal to a devotee of the Lord, even though such a devotee may not be very advanced in devotional service. The Lord has unlimited numbers of transcendental qualities, and one of them is his affection for his unalloyed devotee. In the history of the mundane world, we can appreciate his transcendental qualities. The Lord incarnates himself for the protection of his devotees and for the annihilation of the faithless. His activities are in relationship with his devotees. Srimad Bhagavatam is full of such activities of the Lord in relationship with his devotees, and the non-devotees have no knowledge of such pastimes. The Lord lifted Govardhana hill when he was only 7 years old and protected his pure devotees at Vrindavana from the wrath of Indra, who was overflooding the place with rain. Now this lifting of the Govardhan hill by a 7-year-old boy may be unbelievable for the faithless, but for the devotees it is absolutely believable. The devotee believes in the almighty potency of the Lord, while the faithless say that the Lord is almighty but do not believe it. Such men, with a poor fund of knowledge, do not know that the Lord is the Lord eternally, and that one cannot become the Lord by meditation for millions of years or by mental speculation for billions of years. The impersonal interpretation of the mundane wranglers is completely refuted in this verse, because it is clearly stated here that the Supreme Lord has his qualities, form, pastimes, and everything that a person has. All these descriptions of the transcendental nature of the personality of Godhead are factual realizations by the devotee of the Lord, and by the causeless mercy of the Lord, they are revealed to his pure devotee and to no one else. Yeah, what did he say?
He said that this fire is not so much a question of resources, but he said this fire is the force of nature.
There you go. Bingo. Yeah, the force of nature is uncontrollable. And what are all the scientists trying to do? What is the main thing they're trying to do? They're trying to control nature. You see? This is nonsense. You cannot control nature by scientific research, by IT. They're saying all kinds of crazy, one day, our computers can run everything, and we'll be able to control nature. We'll be able to make artificial rain, and we'll be able to make artificial human beings, or artificial this, artificial that. They're talking nonsense. They can't do any of that. And just one event like this is enough to prove it. But yet, will they learn? No. They'll say, well, this is global warming. We're using too much gasoline and carbon emissions. If we eliminate them all, then it won't happen. This is nonsense. It has nothing to do with carbon emissions. It has to do with sins. Okay. But they say, oh, no, that's not scientific. We can't measure that, And it's not sins. This is all your patriarchal hegemony of people. You're trying to make us feel guilty. So So we refuse to feel guilty. We refuse. We are relativists. You know what a relativist is? They don't believe in morality. They don't believe in any so-called human values. Whatever human being wants to do, that is what they should do, and no one should interfere with it. So that we're seeing that right now. Why is it that they don't prosecute criminals now that steal up to $1,000 in Seattle, in San Francisco, in Los Angeles? Why is it that even someone commits murder, they still let the guy go on bail after he committed a murder? Why? Because they're relativists. Look up relativism. Look it up. It's a very interesting word. This is what's happened. There's been a major shift of culture today. And people actually believe that morality and all this stuff is nonsense. What's it say?
The doctrine that knowledge, truth, and morality exist in relation to culture, society, and historical context, and are not absolute.
There you go. They're not absolute. And it's all in relation to a culture. So the white man culture has to be wiped out now because it was based on in God we trust. And now we're going to put a new culture, everything goes culture. Fluidity, moral fluidity. Whatever you think is moral, that's good enough for you. This is crazy. But yet this is what's happening. We're seeing it with our own eyes right now. Now, who would want... one person was talking to me the other day, and she told me that a friend of hers was studying advanced physics. Advanced physics. And she decided to give it up. And this lady asked her, well, why do you want to give it up? She said, because it leads to nowhere. They're making up just theories all the time that they can't prove. So I want to be a scientist, but I don't want to be an advanced or a physicist because they're dealing with things that they can't prove. They just come up with theories. See, she saw. She's a young girl. It's maybe 20 years old. She got out of it right away. After trying it for a year or two, she realized it leads to nothing. It's just theories that they can't prove. See? Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
So when we talk about the causeless mercy of the Lord,
Yes.
obviously the Lord is deciding whom to shower that mercy on.
Yes. You can't, just like a rich man. Can you
demand.
tell a rich man who he should spend his money on?
Correct.
No.
You cannot demand. But there are favorable conditions.
Yes.
That is the piece that, even though it's causeless mercy.
Yeah, but he has to choose you, though.
For
So
that,
just like to become a Supreme Court judge, there was one judge that was suggested by the Senate. His name was Bork. He was like one of the most intelligent judges in the history of the United States, right? But the Democrats rejected him, right? Even though he's eminently qualified to be a Supreme Court judge. So therefore, even though you could be the most qualified person, unless they choose you, you will not get the position. So it's same with, you can be the smartest guy in the world. You can have PhDs, 10 or 20 PhDs. If Krishna doesn't choose you, he will not reveal the knowledge to you. So the only possibility is to become a pure devotee. But how do you become a pure devotee? You have to actually believe what's being said here in the Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. And
Maharaj, the question is, does becoming pure devotee guarantee the mercy of the Lord?
no, nothing guarantees it. He has to choose you, just like the Supreme Court. Yes, but if you take an interest in him, Shinvata Swakata Krishna Punya Sravana Kirtana Hridyantak Stoi Badrani Vidu Noti Suhit Satam. What does this verse say? This verse is very important. It says, to hear about Krishna, or from the Bhagavad Gita, or to hear about Krishna from the Vedic literatures, or to hear from him directly through the Bhagavad Gita, is itself righteous activity. And for one who hears about Krishna, Krishna who is dwelling in everyone's heart becomes a friend. And he becomes a best wishing friend, and he takes an interest in his devotee who is regularly hearing and chanting about him. And so that's the point. He becomes a friend of yours because you have taken interest in him, right? So it says exactly, to hear about Krishna from Vedic literatures or to hear from him directly through the Bhagavad Gita is itself righteous activity. And for one who hears about Krishna, Lord Krishna is dwelling in everyone's heart, acts as a best wishing friend and purifies the devotee who constantly engages in hearing of him. So, this is the process. This constant hearing about the Lord from bona fide scriptures. And it should be a daily thing. And for the rest of our life, this should be a daily thing. You know. And it should be even 3 times a day, not just once a day. Prabhupada wanted it 3 times a day. But you can't do that living the way we are now. But if we live in the country, like Arlington, and we have our own self-sufficient community, we could do that. 3 times a day hearing Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Because we're no longer working for someone. Some demon. We're working only for Krishna. And Krishna will make it easy for us so that we can do it. Because we've made such a decision. See? Now that doesn't mean we abandon the temples in the city, but it means that for most grihastas, that would be the ideal way of living and becoming Krishna conscious. Right? So like the sannyasis and brahmacharis, they can duke it out with the demons in the big cities, but for the grihastas, it's better to live in self-sufficient communities and be able to hear and chant all the time. Right. Haribol. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Of course, nobody's going to do this. They don't. They don't believe in it. But meditate on this one point. Do you actually want your children to become pure devotees and dedicated like Prahlad Maharaj, their whole life to Krishna consciousness? It's a fundamental question that should be thought about. Yes.
Maharaj, just a follow-up on this causeless mercy. In today's purport, so I'm referring this line here, we can see that the Lord is sufficiently pleased with Brahmaji, and therefore he offers his causeless mercy to him, so that Brahmaji may have the factual realization of the Lord by his mercy only. My question is, Brahmaji got the mercy because he did tapasya for a long time. That's the...
He followed the instruction of the Lord. That's the proof that one is a devotee, a disciple. You follow the discipline given to you by the Guru. So Brahma followed the discipline given to him by Krishna. Even though he didn't see Krishna, he just heard him.
From heart.
Yeah. No, he didn't. No, he didn't see Krishna. He just heard tapa. So he followed Krishna's instruction, and later on, he actually saw Krishna, heard his flute, became illuminated with transcendental knowledge. Krishna spoke from his heart, or revealed it from his heart. So our real teacher is right there. We're carrying our teacher, the real teacher, right in our heart. So we should learn to communicate with the real teacher, and not these phonies that just give speculations and all kinds of nonsense stuff. Haribol. Who is going to lead the chanting? Is it Charan? Oh, okay. Here comes Charan. Let's fix the microphone for him. One of these days, maybe Sun Mook also can lead the Aarti, right? Okay. Then you can take your mask off.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Pakadi Sadma
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Sadma
Vandomu Isavadana Mate Jahara Prasade Pai Eva Bhattoriya Jai Krishna Prapti Hoy Jaha Hoy Te
Krishna Prapti Hoy
Guru Mukha Padma Vaikya Chitite Koriya Aikya Arana Kori Homane Asha Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttama Gati Ye Prasadi Pure Sarvasha Chakshudan Dil Jai Janme Janme Prabhu Se Divignan de Prakasito Prema Bhakti Jahaite Avidya Vinasajate Vede Jaya Jara Charito Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adama Janara Bandhu Lokinath Lokera Jivana Ha Prabhu Koro Doya Dehe More Pada Jaya E Vijaya Shatri Bhuvana Prabhupada Patita Pavana. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol. Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol.
Jayam Vishnupad Padmahansa Kaviraj Chastata Shri Srimadi's Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Natakoti Vaishnava ki jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai, Prem Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Samkinda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana ki jai, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Shri Mayapura Dham ki jai, Shri Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai, Shri Vasi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Ganga Maya ki jai, Jamuna Maya ki jai, Samaveda Bhakti ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to Assembly. All glories to Assembly. All glories to Assembly. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Namaste Saraswati Devi Garbhani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Praskati Vasatarine. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain the pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is a perfection of fills all. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him, by him, ignorance is destroyed. Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our Master, ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and Lord and Master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread throughout all the three worlds. We take shelter of your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna.